Coach Tony. Okay, folks, we are back, and we are joined this week by Kevin Cowherd, who just recently co-authored a book with Cal Ripken Jr. Kevin is also an award-winning sports columnist for the Baltimore Sun, sports dad extraordinaire, longtime coach, and he's been a terrific guest. And you know what, before we went to break, Kevin, you had a thought that you wanted to complete. I hope I didn't ruin it for you or steal your thunder. What were you going to tell me?
Well, I was just going to say, a parallel to that hockey story occurred down here, Tony. Just last week, we had an incident where a dad kept berating the official, and they were young referees. I don't think they were 15, a little older than that. Kept berating him. When the game was over, confronted the official, got into an argument with the opposing coach, and a huge brawl broke out. So, again, there just seemed to be not nearly enough adult supervision at this game. Police ended up being called. It was a really ugly incident, and it happened to be the championship game for a rec league, and it was a 15 to 17-year-old kid. So, you have parallels to that hockey incident across the board in all sports, and you better have enough adult supervision and support there, because otherwise bad things can happen.
Now, do you know what happened to the parent as a result of this, or is that still an ongoing deal?
Well, it's still an ongoing deal. It's funny, I talked to the coach, one of the coaches about 3 days ago, and he said, he gave a full report to the police, and it's in their hands now. I don't know what has happened since then, Tony.
But see, here's the problem, and tell me what you think. It's in the police's hands.
Right.
Why the hell didn't the officials or the administrators from the league step in and deliver some swift justice? I mean, you and I are probably thinking of this. Oh, they did. All right, so what did they do? What did they do?
What they did, Tony, they barred. Here's the thing: the dad is no longer allowed to be associated with the program. Okay, the kid, they've suspended the kid for a year. Mm-hmm. Now, from all indications, the kid is not a bad kid. Okay, his dad is a psycho, but the kid himself is fine.
What sport was this?
Well, this is basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, this is basketball. So that becomes a problem, because you are penalizing this kid, and I think rightly so in this case. There has to be some penalty, but you're penalizing him because of his dad's actions, and that's sad for the kid. But the dad is barred. He will not be part of the rec program again. And again, it's in the police hands right now.
And you know what? I got to tell you, I am not a big fan of penalizing the kid, but at the same time, I do think a year might be a pretty drastic suspension for a kid who did nothing wrong.
Right.
But I will tell you this: if you already barred the dad lifetime from the program, you shouldn't have really done anything to the kid. I think if you came with a less strict punishment on the dad, I think to add to that, when you penalize the kid, that may be the only thing that hits home for some of these parents.
Well, I totally agree. I think in this case, one thing I neglected to say was the kid had mouthed off to the ref, too.
Oh, okay, never mind. There you got it.
Yeah, he had not been involved in the brawl afterward, and from all accounts, he was trying to be a peacemaker, but he did antagonize the ref, too, and I think part of the reason that he, too, was suspended for a year was because of that.
Well, for an award-winning sports columnist, you're leaving out a lot of details here, Kevin. You made me look bad. All right, I'm just kidding with you.
Sorry about that.
Don't worry about it. Listen, there's one more email I wanted to get to, because this is another case of maybe the apple not falling too far from the tree. And actually, this is more about coaches as well. Greg from Yorktown wrote in and said, "Hey, Coach Tony, what do you think of this? This past summer, a group of 12-year-old boys from our town made their trip to Cooperstown to play in the famous tournament up there. In between our games, we would occasionally take in another game or two. Turns out there was a team from a neighboring town there the same week we were, so we went to watch them play. And what we witnessed made me embarrassed to say that I live in Westchester County. This particular team was winning, and they brought in their, quote, big gun to finish the game on the mound. Well, this kid had a bad day, and a walk here, a hit there, and the next thing you know, their lead was gone. So far, not a big deal, but what happened next was a disgrace. The kid starts, a la Connor Sullivan in your book, throwing his glove, his hat, you name it. He was really putting on a show and embarrassing himself and his town. The umpire threw the kid out of the game, and up in Cooperstown, that results in packing your bags and going home. And soon enough, the coaches come out onto the field, and I'm thinking, finally, someone's going to take this kid off the field and end this embarrassment. Well, I was dead wrong, and this is where the embarrassment really began. Instead of the coaches allowing this kid to learn a lesson he desperately needed, they convinced the umpire to change his mind about booting the kid. What message does this send to the kid and to the rest of the kids who were there? How does something like this happen? You know, this could be very close, Kevin, to the top of the list of, oh my God, what the hell is going on here? I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard of anything similar to this one in your travels, but what do you think about this case?
Well, I think it's disgraceful. I mean, I think anybody with common sense, anybody who's ever worked with kids, anybody who's ever coached kids, or any parent has to think this is absolutely disgraceful. I can't believe that. The idea that the umpire would change his mind is ridiculous. Sounds like this kid should have probably been booted a couple of innings earlier, and absolutely disgraceful. I can't believe it.
I mean, I just keep looking to myself, both as parent, as coach. I take my my incredibly attractive radio host hat off for a second. I say, if that's my kid, I mean, I don't even think twice. If the coach keeps him in, I got to tell you, parents should never enter a dugout. If my kid was allowed to stay in that game, I would go into the dugout. I would have to be the one to say, Coach, he's done.
Yeah.
You know, you need to take my favorite. You got to get the bone out of your head and stick it in your back and make the decision that everybody knows is right. If all you care about is, are we going to win the next game? I mean, think about it. Cooperstown. I made that trip with a group of boys. It is a magical experience if you do it the right way. I don't know. Are you familiar with the tournament? I know you guys are biased down there.
I'm very
to the Cal Ripken thing.
And in fact, Tony, I did a huge story on a couple of teams from down here that played up there. I know all about Cooperstown. Yep.
It is truly a magical experience. I found myself going to Doubleday Field in my spare time, watching these old dopes like me trying to relive their youth for even just a second, to just, smack a ball around with a wood bat and enjoy playing baseball. You walk through the Hall of Fame, you walk down that 2 to 3 block stretch of Old Town USA,
yep.
And that's what it's really about. Instead, you do have teams that are managed by these Mongos, and the reason I use the word Mongo, Kevin, if you go back and check out some of my old shows, I got in trouble for using a different word, but these Mongo coaches who really think that something, like there are scouts there. And, forget about the kids. Some of these guys really think that how they perform in these tournaments is a reflection on them as a coach. And that's where they really fall down. How much do you think that plays into the downfall of sportsmanship? This whole idea of I'm being viewed as a coach, and when in reality people don't really care.
Well, I totally agree. I mean, we've all seen it, Tony. You've seen it. I've seen it. I mean, you see these coaches, they think they're Earl Weaver or Billy Martin. They think they're Joe Torre. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And again, that's the wrong kind of guy to have as a coach. I mean, you want a guy who's selfless. You want a guy who's all about the team, all about the kids he's coaching, and not about himself. I look at guys like that, Tony, and I'm sure you do too. They're insecure guys. Mm-hmm. They're insecure men who either they never had their moment of glory, and now they want their kids to have it, and so it's all about managing in that way. I'm just puzzled by it. I never understood it. It's all about their ego. I can't even explain it any further since I don't understand it.
Well, you know what? Another quick hour of my life has gone by. I got to give special thank you to Kevin Coward, a terrific guest. Listen, before I go, I got to plug this book again. If you have any kids who play any sports, go get your hands on this book. It's called Hothead. It's authored by Kevin Cowherd, co-authored by Cal Ripken Jr. Great book. Hey, folks, another terrific week. Thanks. Join me next week for Let Them Play. Take it easy.